And Onesmus Mutio is the National Organizing Secretary of the University Academic Staff Union, who joins us and said, thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, to start us off, let's get this out of the way. This court order that has come later today, stopping the strike,
yes,
albeit temporarily. What is your response to it? And disobedience to it, don't you think that's a tantamount to contempt of court?
Well, thank you for the invite to the show. Let me say that I will not wish to discuss about the court order. I will leave that to the legal experts. But what I can assure you is that the strike is on. As we said, there are only two things that can make us stop this strike. Either the signing of the CBA or the world comes to an end.
And it is important to note that it's not only UASU that is out there striking. The Kenya University Staff Union, that is KUSU, is also out there. And 35 public universities really are participating in it. That means learning in universities across the country is paralyzed. But I want us to talk about the CBA, 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement. Can you kindly walk us through the contents of that CBA? Because, I mean, it's a bone of contention here, right?
Yes. As you said, the CBA that we are talking about is the 2021-2025 national CBA. That means that it ought to have been negotiated, signed, and implemented by June 2021. Now, that was not the case. As a union, we gave our proposal to employer in September 2020. We expected that the negotiation would have started immediately. But as you realize, we are in the year 2024, the cycle of that CBA is expiring by next year. And therefore, we have been patient enough to wait for our employer to come to the negotiation table so that I could negotiate, sign, and implement. But all along, the employer has been evading the negotiations. They just called us to negotiate last year. Kept us taking around the universities. They kept asking for more time to consult, and now that we could not agree, the members have now taken the powers that they gave us to negotiate as of or their officials, and now they want to speak to the government directly and demand for their rights. Now, what is in that CBA? Number one is that, of course, we are entitled to, the basic pay.
Let me cut you a bit so that we take a breather. But when you come back, you will pick it from there, the contents of that CBA and why it is so controversial in terms of why you are out in the streets. But let's take a short breather. We're coming back in a minute. Don't go to... Students strike, of course, who are protesting about the new university funding model, but of course they postponed that to allow for consultations. I'm still with Onesmus Mutio, who was telling us about the contents of that CBA. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, sure. As I was saying, the key objective of a CBA is that you could review the basic pay or the pay of your members, and so that you can cushion them against inflation, among other things. So key to this CBA is our basic pay, where we expecting that the government or our employer is going to review our basic pay. And when they said that they did not have money, we said that, we should be awarded what other government workers were awarded. You are well aware that all the government workers were awarded between 7 to 10% pay increase. Now, that did not happen in the public universities. So the reason why we're even more hungry is because if other public workers were awarded 7 to 10% pay increase, why are you discriminating the university workers? So we say to our irreducible minimum, then give us the set 7 to 10% pay for our basic. And that we are not going to give in. We have to get that before we go back to class. The other thing is the house allowance that we get. The last time our house allowance in the university sector was reviewed was in 2008. You'll agree with me that from 2008 up to now, surely the price of housing in housing sector has really increased. The government itself has already increased, given a circular to increase the rent in their own houses. So if that is what they are doing, why are they not reviewing our our house rent. Other things are things like the medical scheme.
Medical cover.
I want you to know that in most universities, the medical schemes have collapsed. University workers do not have medical covers, and therefore, when they fall sick, then they have got to go and pay with their own money, then come to claim from the university. And in many cases, that money is never refunded at all. And therefore, we're saying, like any other public workers, we also want a good medical cover for our members. You also aware that the SRC, over 10 years back, released a circular that all government employees were entitled to car loan and mortgage. But in the public university, we don't have car loan and mortgage, and therefore we are saying we are also workers in this government, and we are also now demanding that we should have a car loan and mortgage so that our members can also buy cars and they can also buy houses. So those are some of the issues. Others are the allowances that are so discriminative across the universities, and you're saying we need them harmonized.
All right. You come from UASU. I want us to understand, if the CBA was implemented, and we are dealing now with a basic salary, for example.
Yes.
If the CBA was implemented, how much would a junior lecturer earn? How much are they earning today?
Well, I may not have the specific figures with me by now. Maybe I should have brought that. But well, if then that is implemented, and the lowest, because our proposal was from grade 10, 11, and 12, that is the graduate assistant lecturers, lecturer, and lecturers get 10%, then that would have increased their, their basic pay from, well, say between 3,000 to about 5,000. Yes, not so much.
The increment would have been 3,000 to 5,000.
Yes, the
on your basic salary.
Yes, on our basic salary.
There's also something I want us to understand. The 7 to 10% increment.
Yes.
I'm assuming this is one given on Labor Day by the President?
Yes.
Was it, when you say it is not implemented for public university workers, does it also include junior officials in public universities? Or when you mean that it was not implemented, it was on those that are senior in terms of the cadre of government?
Well, when we talk about university workers, that will include all the workers in the university, from the highest, that is grade 15, to the lowest. So that was not implemented to all universities workers, regardless of their grade. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, was there any reason given, for example, because I'm sure you've engaged the employer to tell you, beyond not implementing the CBA, why then the 7 to 10% increase was not effected on you guys?
The reason that we get from our employer is that they don't have money. But what is interesting is that as in the university, we are used to strikes. There's no single CBA we have ever negotiated and implemented without a strike. In fact, traditionally, we go on strike maybe 3 times or 4 times before we negotiate and implement a CBA. First, before our employer agrees to come to the negotiation table, we have to go on strike to force them to come to negotiate. Once that is done, we have to go on another strike to force them to come and sign the CBA. Once the signing is done, there's another strike to force the government to implement the CBA. So strikes are not new to us. We are used, because that is the way we get our increase. And even in this one, I can assure you, maybe this is the first strike. We might have another one and another one before this CBA is implemented.
Now that you mentioned about having a strike and another one, and that is a possibility, probably, in the way you say it, I'm well aware you had an engagement with the Minister for Education.
Correct.
Dr. Julius Migos Ogamba.
Yes.
What was the nature of your conversations? Why did your talks collapse?
Well, we met with the CS, invited us. We met the CS and the PS in their offices. The request was not new, and we expected that. What the government was asking is they needed more time to address our issues, that they need more time. But you see, as I said, this is a CBA that was supposed to have been signed and negotiated in 2021. From last year, our employer has been asking for more time, So we gave the CS time. We met him on Monday morning, and we said, okay, we have given you time up to yesterday midnight. you can negotiate with us and give us a CBA. If that happens, we'll call off the strike. But they said they needed more time, and our members said enough is enough. We've been taken round long enough. For now, let them negotiate when we have already downed our tools.
And there was also an attempt by the current CS for Labour, the Honourable Alfred Mutio, to get you back on the negotiating table. But you don't appear to be keen on being back on the negotiating table.
We are very keen. In fact, we are very much open and willing to negotiate. But then we want to negotiate properly. As a CS, if the CS is inviting the union, normally he will write to us officially and invite us. But the invite that came, in a way with that, it was improper because he invited us through another office. And therefore we said, no, if you want us to talk, why don't you invite us? You have a letterhead, you write a letter to us through your letterhead, sign it by yourself, we will come.
All right.
But when it was sent through some other junior officials, we said, no, just write to us, we'll come.
Okay.
And I want to assure you that once he does that, then we'll meet him.
I think you saw your peers in secondary schools and primary schools, Coopet and Nat, go back to work. Literally, other than a collective bargaining agreement, there's nothing else they went back to school with, to class with. Question is, the government is insisting they don't have money whatsoever to implement some of the CBAs. Question is, what will you do if the government continues to insist we don't have money?
Well, as an economist, I will tell you that money is meant to be scarce, and that is the nature of money. It has to be scarce. And therefore, when the government says that it doesn't have money, yes, you don't have money, but you had the money to increase for the other public employees. So why are you discriminating us? Where you got money to pay the other public workers, go back to the same place and get us money as well. Because why should we be discriminated? We are still employees of the same government. And I want to assure you, we are not going back to work. There are only two things. We either sign a CBA or this world ends.
I want to understand. There's the signing of a CBA. There's also the demand for the implementation of that CBA of 2021, 2025. Government says we don't have money. Are you saying then that your bare minimum is this 7 to 10% increment?
We are not going to debate on that. The reason is it was awarded to all government workers. We are also government workers. We pay taxes as well. So why should we be discriminated? We are not going to discuss on that. It is either 7 to 10% or there's no learning in public universities. That should be very clear. Until
then, universities will remain shut.
It's okay. I want to tell you that some years ago, universities were closed for 7 months. And as I say, we are not in a hurry. If the government does not have money, no problem. We'll give it time to go and look for money and come and pay us.
In less than a minute, if a new CBA were to be signed, which of course you would be involved in the negotiations, how would you want it to look like? What would be the contents? Would it just be the replication of the same CBA that was in 2021, 2025?
Well, we have given them our proposal. One, I expect that they are going to give us a basic pay rise of between 7 to 10%, which must be, implemented properly or done properly, because the proposal that they've given us is that they had given the higher ranks, the 7%, and the lower ranks, nothing. Conventionally, those who earn lower must be given a higher pay rise, and those who are on a higher rank need to be given less, so that you try to bridge the gap. So the proper CBS that we must get that 7 to 10%, we must get an increase in our housing, house allowance. We need a car loan and mortgage like any other government officials. That must be put in place. We need a proper medical cover for all our members. We need harmonization of the allowance. You may be surprised that, for example, the commuter allowance, a professor in University of Nairobi might be earning 13,000. A professor in multimedia is earning 50,000. We say these are the same workers, the same qualification, under the same government, under the same union. Why should they earn different commuter allowance and they go to the same fueling station? Right. So we are saying that need also to be harmonized before we go back to class.
All right. Onesmus Mutio is the National Organizing Secretary, UASU. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And of course, according us this time, to explain just generally what is ongoing when we say that UASU and KUSU are out on strike. What way the strike, we'll be monitoring that in the coming days. We're taking a breather, and of course, when we come back, we'll continue with the rest of the news. But thank you very much, Onesmus, for joining us tonight. Asante.